Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is in fact Wednesday. You know what time it is. It's the time where you're supposed to be working, but you're not. Maybe you're at home. Maybe your workday is over. Maybe your workday hasn't even started. But you know what? You're here. That's all that matters. So are we. Beautiful people,
Yay.
What is going on? Weekly, daily Wednesdays. Gonna get started in about 10 minutes. Just talking about dragon's tales. Like, legit. That was what the conversation was.
Love you, Arthur.
Yeah, that was
Yay.
what the last bit of my stream yesterday was also about.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
chasing that dragon, screaming, "Give me that butt! Give me that butt!"
You were chasing the dragon, man, and I tuned in. I tuned in, waiting for you to get that sword. Not a kernel of popcorn. I didn't even listen to you say goodnight. I closed the tab. I was like,
Yeah, no, I was chasing that dragon around for a while, and apparently I was hitting it in the wrong place. It needs to be the tip of the tail, not the base of the tail like I was doing.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
And I did hit the dragon with the lightning bolt the once. It's like, alright, how much damage does this do? Oh crap, there goes half its HP bar. Okay.
was it really worth it just to get that sword, or was that like, I need this to complete my collection of swords?
No, it's just a really iconic sword from the Soul series. It's the Moonlight Greatsword. It's like the big greatsword with the green blade that shoots like magic.
Don't need it. I might use it once or twice, but yeah.
I wasn't gonna use it. Literally, I was not going to use it. I just wanted it.
That makes it a little bit worse, but that's all right. We'll power through it.
Oh, hello, Barbramp. How you doing?
Yeah.
I'll get it in New Game Plus. That's fine.
Thank you, Arthur, for this penguin hug. Oh,
The slingshot penguin hug.
yeah. Okay, I will be right back. I'm gonna take a quick break.
All right. So let's see. Pedro, I'm going to nominate you for Dex on Linux.
Okay. Blue.
We may
Baby
be
blue, so you can read it well on a dark background.
Gotta try to slide in a little closer so I can like get your comments in the show notes, so I don't have to go back and add them after we get done doing the show.
Have you been adding comments to the show notes that I've made?
Not these.
Okay.
So I got to take them out of Google Docs and move them over to the main, into the WordPress. So pretty much whatever is there Wednesday morning, about 4:35, 4:40 a.m. my time.
Ah, okay. All right.
That's what
Cool.
ends up on the web zone.
All right. Cool.
Oh, yes. Oh, there might be glitches, explosions. No, man, I got a bunch of new stuff I'm playing with. If you look back here, you'll notice the mixer's not there. It's not. Promise you.
I do see more of like the tilted mount. A lot more, yeah. The arm was in the way low.
Just preamps. And I have a little 1U device that is doing double duty. I'm testing its a line mixer, but it's also a interface that my voice is coming through.
All right.
It does two things.
Oh, Nemo, good, you're here.
Oh,
If you're going to add stories to the show notes, don't do it half an hour before we go live, please. It's like a half an hour before. I'm just copying the links over to open them in the browser. It's like, and I see Nemo typing in. It's like, oh, all right, okay, no.
well, I mean, we were getting set up to do the show, and we were both like, yeah, don't know if that's gonna happen. We can sneak it in next week, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Canonical and Google port. What is Flutter?
It's Canonical's Electron. I'm only slightly exaggerating.
Okay. Probably the reason I don't know what it is. Which
Artherin posted it Discord earlier. It's like, so Electron's a little too mainstream nowadays?
it's Google's Electron. Okay.
I thought Electron... Well, it does use Chromium, but not necessarily Google's. Fair enough.
I don't know what they've done to the Chromium builds in Debian Stale, man, but that thing's still jacked up. Only on Google sites. I mean, if you're looking, like, seriously, if you're looking for a browser that takes 2.5-3 minutes to open a Google Docs, Chromium right now, that build, it's got you covered, man.
How?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm more bemused by it than like, what? How did you mess this up? A monster rancher.
And Chrome Beta was leaking memory like crazy the moment you opened up WebRTC. So I think that's fixed now. I did try to open Jitsi in Chrome Beta a couple of weeks ago. I think that's fixed.
How many gigabytes of RAM do you have?
16.
Yeah.
And it crashed my box twice before I could see exactly what it was.
You do have a swap file, yes?
I do. A whole 8 gigs.
I have 32 because of interesting choices Debian makes by default.
Same as the RAM, yeah.
Yeah.
It was half as the RAM for Neon.
Mm.
It's like, oh, you have 16 gigs? All right, then your swap file is 8 gigs big. All right, okay.
That makes sense.
Strangely enough, my laptop, the one that I put together off of scrap and the motherboard that I bought off eBay, it has 32 gigs of DDR4 in it, 2 16 gigabyte sticks. Laptop memory, not that expensive right now, if you're looking.
So dims.
And yeah, if I put Ubuntu Mate on it, because it's like Whippy does a very good job with the defaults, very same defaults out of the box. All I need to do is change the compositor to Compton and away we go. Mm-hmm. So put that there, installed it. It's like, oh, the swap file is 32 gigs. Okay, I only have a 256 gig NVMe SSD, man. What are you doing?
Aw. Yeah, I've noticed good sodium prices. I picked up one for one of my Linux distro install laptops. That was cool. Picked up another 8 gigs for one of those.
Didn't they release the price for that, what was it, 100 terabyte SSD?
I didn't see the price. I saw the news about it being announced, but I didn't see the price.
It was like, what? That's...
Wasn't it like $10,000?
I don't know if it was that much, but it was close.
It was high. It was really high. I remember briefly seeing it, but I don't remember what it was. Hi, Steve husband. Hi, boo. Aw. Love you, boo.
I'm going to say $8,000. $250 per terabyte. Oh, retailing the 100 terabyte version retailing for $40,000.
Okay. Well,
40,000.
I was wrong. No.
However, a bargain. Ladies and gentlemen, a bargain can be had 50 terabyte for a mere 12.5K.
From Samsung, so
Might as well just get two.
yeah.
I mean, seriously, what do you think about it?
That's a great price. I'll take 12.
Oh, hello, Mir. How are you doing in Kresny?
Yeah, even the like that 8 terabyte one that you
Katana.
posted. It's like, oh yeah, no, $800. Sure.
Yeah.
1,500? No.
I seriously had already had that talk with because in order to spend money, man, it takes a lot of like self-convincing of like, that'll be okay, man. The world won't explode. I worked myself into like, I'll pay $800 for that. We can use that. Like legitimately, I can use that. $1,200. I think, get out of here, man. No, shoot.
Oh, I love my Steve husband's
nowhere
mask.
near close enough.
So cute.
Let me get a drink and we're gonna get going. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got
We
his
have
black
Neko
kitty cat.
Steve.
Yes. Oh, fellow Stan is with us. Cool. And we had the
Are
Tennessean
you creeping
here
on
too.
the Twitch people?
Keegan the Tennessean.
Let's see, we have on Twitch, Atten, Barbrampt, Kensico, Nemo, Katana, Mir, Fullestan, Artherin, and Thicker.
Arthur, I am doing well. I'm happy to be here with you today. Nephew Arthur.
Scott, you can only tell that that's digital because Ven walked in front of it. Or behind it,
Oh,
as
yeah.
the case may be.
Yeah. Hey, Scott.
Hello,
Yes.
Artherin.
Katana's hiding. Hiding from the coronavirus, too. In our homes.
I'm not that much of a name dropper. In fact, if it comes to names of people, I've either known you for a while or I don't remember your name.
Yeah, I know It's so true, Katana. And Steve, we haven't had Barbrandt here in a while. It's nice to have him in, at least live in chat. Mhm. I miss his face in the Friday Foobar as well. He's on English time near Pedro.
Yes. Yeah, no, Nori is very much a teacher. That was her job before this whole thing hit. And she remembers, like, names after a week, maybe 2 weeks. She remembers the names of, like, all the kids in her class. It's like, how?
Yeah, that's it.
It takes me years.
It took me a while before.
Are you
'cause I-
kidding? It's a piece of cake to remember students' names. It's called a Sharpie. Forehead. Make sure it's permanent because they'll go home and try to wash it off.
Yeah, I still, I'll sometimes get students coming up to me, like when we go, out to the mall and whatnot, that I haven't seen in 10 years.
Mirror, that's an amazing price.
What?
RX 580 for $100.
That's about what I'd pay for one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and it looked like Barbramp just moved. Cool, Barbramp. Congratulations.
Nice.
Oh, hey, computer kid. Good to see you here. He's He's my friend at Jupiter Broadcasting and Destination Linux, and Big Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Katana, that is a good idea.
Fixed seating. Yeah, that's one way to do it, isn't it?
I remember the name of the position, not the person.
A13. All right, everyone. Let's talk about some.
Oh, okay.
Uploaded. If there are any explosions, I've already called dibs on it, so feel free to inform me that there are explosions. That is loaded. Okay.
Oh, hi, Jack. You made it. Jelly bean.
I shall miss you, pretty fan. I'm gonna turn you off now.
Oh. Oh, yeah, it's going to heat up.
Yeah.
River.
It's like 2 miles up that way, but yeah.
Go crying. For me.
Oh, yeah, Jack and Evan's birthday is today. My nephew, Evan Bryant, his birthday's today. Yay.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're about to get into it in 3, 2, and welcome back to Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays, where we can sit back, relax, take that midweek break, talk about some of the fun things, the interesting things, maybe some of the strange things we've got going on in the world of open source Linux and basically anything else that kind of catches our interest. I'm Ben Stone. That's Joe Bryant, and over there is Pedro Mateus, and everyone goofing off, watching us live in the middle of the day. Hi, you're supposed to be working. Oh, we won't narc on you, man. Don't worry. Maybe just a little bit. What's up? What's new? Bunch of stuff going on. Earlier, like first thing this morning, FedEx guy shows up, and he's like, hey, remember that $500,000 video encoder you bought? Like, 4 months ago. I'm like, yeah, Blackmagic sent it back to you. It took them 2 months. They determined nothing wrong with it. It's functioning perfectly normal. So, yeah.
That's the thing. Oh, poor Van.
I'm going to see what I can do with like the developer side of Blackmagic, because I do have one guy there that I was working back and forwards with before I RMA'd the thing, because I couldn't spend more time. Like, if it was defective, we'd never figure it out, and I don't want to spend 3 months getting that sorted out. Worst case scenario, I'm going to have to buy a new Threadripper motherboard. Looking forward to that. But back here, I am testing another blue interface that you can see. It's if I put one more blue piece of equipment into this rack, James Cameron's going to show up and try to film it. It's getting out of control, man. That's what's new with me. What's up with you, Joe?
Oh, well, my husband and I had a wonderful 4th of July trip. It wasn't very far, very long, but it was just to get out of the house a bit and go somewhere. And it was because everyone's staying at home. There was no one around, so we were on our own, which was really nice. So we got to see some nice sights. And I had fun buying quite a few games from the Steam Summer Sale. And yeah, so lots of games there.
Nice. Yeah, over here I've been working a lot. That's basically it. And as comfy as this particular chair is, I was forced to get an extra cushion for butt health reasons. So yeah, the padding on the actual seat was appropriate, but not anymore.
Hey, man.
Yeah, I understand.
It's Revenge of the Dragon, that's all I can say about that.
Yeah.
Oh. Hey, everyone, we need to panic and overreact.
Yeah, well, a lot of people panicked. In fact, if you were looking at the Linux subreddit earlier this week, you may have seen it's like, oh no, LibreOffice is going to have a paid version, it's going to have a license, and it's going to have this and that. It's like, cool it, right? Because LibreOffice have made a...
Sorry, Pedro, I'm the internet.
They weren't entirely wrong, but the official statement from the Document Foundation is that the LibreOffice 7.0 RC, which came labeled as Personal Edition, was them sort of kind of jumping the shark, as it were, because... yeah, a lot of people freaked the heck out. It's like, oh, there's going to be a monetized version. There may be one in the future. According to their statement, they are trying to make it basically the same way that Red Hat does. They offer you a license for support. Let's say you're a big enterprise and you don't want to deal with it and you just want, the liability to lie somewhere else. So you pay LibreOffice or the Document Foundation a bit of a license and they will sort out your issue. Maybe in the future. They say that they've retracted that since, they're still ongoing discussions with the community, obviously, and that people shouldn't freak out, please.
Sorry, I was freaking out. Did you say something?
Yeah, no, it's fine. Carry on.
No, man. Here's one of the things I'm thinking about with that is, they straight up made a whoopsie. That's what that was.
Yep.
They're like, this is an idea. This is a thought. This is something we're thinking about, not necessarily working on just yet, and we didn't mean to put that out there. Then, because then you got to roll back. You're like, okay, now we really have to come up with something, but we don't want to put anything like in stone because we're not sure exactly how this is going to play out. So it put them in a very difficult position. But I see where they're going with, because, getting software approved in an enterprise environment, step one, when you go to your purchasing operator or whoever you're dealing with, they're like, so who do we blame when it breaks?
Yeah.
And if you can't give them an easy, accessible target, because community forums, that's a non-starter. They want, like, who do we call? And, they don't want the Ghostbusters, but they'll take them if they can provide support for the software. So, yeah, that's just reality of it. I mean, I don't see a reason to panic, because it's always going to be a personal edition. You don't have to worry about that. And it's going to be a thing.
Yeah.
So,
well,
yeah.
If they start a business model, though, definitely makes sense because of development and support. That's a big deal. And now that LibreOffice is being used more in the enterprise and government sector, it makes sense that they would come out with a business model. And because it's being used more and more.
Especially because business is like what Ven was saying. It's like, we really don't want to take charge for this, so if we have to pay to get a license to get it properly supported, we will. That's it.
Makes sense. So calm down.
Yeah.
Calm down. We do have a little bit of good news. Something we once had, which was taken away, is now back, but only if you really want it.
You have to really want it. This is Dex on Linux, and you may remember Dex as the little desktop Linux that if you had a Samsung phone, you could plug it into the Dex dock, and it would, if you had a screen plugged into it with a mouse and keyboard, it would become like a full desktop version of whatever Linux distro was bundled into their Android phones. I think it was Debian. This is a little bit different. It works in a similar way, but you're not using it directly on your on a monitor directly from the phone, because that feature is going away. Samsung said that they're not going to be developing Dex anymore. But if you have a phone that did support it, you can still use it, but you will require one of these. This one's a Dell, but doesn't have to be this one specifically. It's HDMI out with a Type-C dock, effectively, that will charge your phone, and basically if the whatever Type-C device is plugged in there is DisplayPort or HDMI enabled, then that Type-C will also carry the video signal, and on top of that, you'll have to plug in a dummy HDMI device. It's usually just like a dummy that says, no, there's totally a
Yep.
A monitor connected here. Just give me that resolution. And then it uses screen copy, to which we've talked about on this very show, to display that signal that's being sent to the dummy device. So it's a bit of a roundabout way to go at it.
I'm gonna say,
But it works.
just a little bit, man. But since Samsung, they killed the Linux beta, it's really your only option. This reminds me of some Rube Goldberg contraptions that I've come up with because someone said you can't do that. Like, give me a minute. How is that possible? And not in a good way. They're not saying it because they're impressed. They're like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, but it's working, right? See? Yeah. I mean, outside of just like the thought experiment or to go through it, you definitely pick up some knowledge. It'd be, you got to compile some stuff from source. It might be new to you. I was down with this right up until I was like, HDMI. Nah, nope, I'm out. All right. What about you, Joe?
It's just a dummy plug.
Oh, I know, but
it really, it really does seem like a lot of work, but it doesn't take too much time to do. It's just getting all the parts together and compiling the software. But a lot of people missed having the Samsung desktop experience on Linux. That was definitely a thing. And I think our own Linux guru in chat used to love it and was sad when they got rid of it. So maybe he'll enjoy doing this with this phone again.
Oh, go ahead, Jill. You're going to try to make a use case for this.
Oh, I'm very, very excited for this. This is the Max Interactive Desktop version 2.1, excuse me. And this, for all of you out there who've been using Linux and Unix a long time, this is a reimplementation of the IRIX desktop from SGI machines running on Linux. And, it's tailored towards the graphic professionals, the CG artists and animators, and those of us who have worked in the motion picture and special effects studios.
That looks very 1990s.
Yep.
Yes, it definitely is. Old school Unix. I had installed the previous version to play around with it. But there's some enhancements in this one, including better multi-monitor support with Zynorama, which is really cool. And this is just a really, really cool desktop, honestly, that Hollywood really needs. I'd learned Alias Wavefront on an IRIX system on my SGI machine years ago. And it was, low resource, low memory, and a really fast desktop for rendering. And we need that in the Linux world for computer graphics and modeling right now. Especially since the Linux world is now open sourcing all the things.
So I absolutely hear your side of the argument, Joe, but
yes,
we already have that and have had it for decades. I'm not talking about XFC. I mean, we're talking like After Step. We're talking about Enlightenment. I mean, if you want to ultra
step.
But then again,
yes.
On the other side of that, this is 2020 where you can buy a desktop. Not a thread ripping thing, a desktop CPU with 12 cores.
16.
Yes.
Or 16 if you want to get crazy with it.
3950.
Yeah.
Right. And you can throw 64 gigs of it. It's like, it doesn't matter how many, just run GNOME. Be drunk with power. So, this is a continuation of the 5DWM project. That's old, but I looked at it. I didn't get a chance to play with it, mainly because it's only available as, just a .sh package that you can install. It's available for Ubuntu, Debian, and Arch right now, 64-bit only. Consider getting that packaged, maybe, just make it easier to pop it in, pop it out. But, yeah, I mean, it is pretty much a straight-up clone of the old Indigo Magic desktop. That was like the first thing they had for the IRIX back in the day. But, the new thing with UTF-8 support, and gang of bug fixes. But yeah, thankfully desktops have evolved since the 90s, because I saw that and I'm like, that's horribly bad and inefficient way of doing things.
It reminded me a lot of Haiku.
Well, when I see I'm not knocking, because some people, this is your jam, go for it, man. I look at it through like an efficiency workflow, like compared with my if you've seen my desktop, you're like, yeah, okay, fine. But yeah, I think things have evolved. Plus, I was always a fan of CD deal with it.
Yeah, CDE is cool. Yeah. And FVWM, which I used to use a lot for graphics as well.
I think that's
SWM in a pinch.
Yeah.
I'll deal with that.
Go check it out if you want. It's Max with 2 X's interactive.com. That'll be in the show notes along with everything else. But maybe running an IRIX style desktop's not hipster enough for you, man.
Oh, no, you can run it. You can run it directly from MTTY. And I was very disappointed because this was not a Mike T hand to yourself. So, yes, that's me, my week ruined right there. So, no, it's EMPTTY or MT. And what it does, it's a command line desktop manager. That's basically it. It allows you, instead of like when you turn on your PC and you see LightDM or SDDM or GDM for GNOME, you will instead see the command line. And the command line will, it's like, okay, so what's your login, what's your password, and then it gives you a choice with all of the desktop environments / window managers that you have installed. And they have the screenshots like GNOME, KDE, OpenBox, Sway, Weston's it's the window manager and the compositor.
Don't judge.
So, but yeah, it's just a TTY DM, which if you want to remove any and all overhead from even running a desktop manager, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of just like messing with people, is there some valid use cases for this? I'm open to ideas.
Fast. it's really fast.
It's built in Go.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
See, I like it now. That's weird. Okay, fine.
I mean, it's a desktop manager. It just happens to have a command line interface rather than a graphical one. So, all right.
Yeah.
Do you use a
Back
desktop
in the
manager?
old days of Xstart. Start X.
On this box, it boots directly into the desktop because it's a desktop PC. It's not going to go anywhere. But on the laptops, I use LightDM usually.
Yeah, I use LightDM on this box because there's an issue with the forceful composition pipeline that effectively adds another layer of security into logging into this box unless you know the cryptic key presses to get into XFCE4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I use LightDM too because I go back and forth to lots of window managers, so I'm in there a lot.
I got LightDM and GDM3. Yeah, I think I've just always used LightDM, not for any reason really.
I think I have SDDM installed because that's the default with KDE.
Okay.
But ever since I installed KDE Neon on it, I think I saw it once, and then I set it to auto login. Like, they're done.
Well, you're going to need a desktop if you want to play around with Tone Music Box. What is it? You never heard of it? Me either, until very recently. It's yet another music player for the Linux desktop. It's designed to be simple, streamlined, putting a user control. It uses GStreamer and Bass audio library for playback. Now, just looking at the screenshots, I'm getting like some classic Amarok vibes from that. Just a little bit. You have your album art over to the right, and kind of into just left of center, you have your music playlist, and you got some little album cover art over there. Plenty of features, man. They'd say fast, responsive UI, drag and drop, all the fun stuff that you might expect. You can even stream in from Plex, Last.fm, Scrobbling, whatever that is. Man, it has it. And it's also available as a flatpak. Like,
it is,
nice.
Which is really nice. I like flat packs. I was going through the notes. It's like, ooh, flat pack. Hit the button. Discover showed up. It's like, would you like to install Talon Music Box? Like, yes, I would. Thank you very much. And you start it up, and it looks really nice. And I was going through the settings, and it's like, ooh, you could log in with Spotify and import all of your existing playlists. Oh, that's interesting. And
Sweet.
but I did find a bit of an issue with it, because when I pointed it at the SMB server on the NAS, it's like, that's your music folder, go get it. It did, and then I picked a song that I knew it didn't have any cover art in the file, so I right-clicked on the cover art, just like do a quick search for it. And it did, and it found it, and then applied that same cover art for all the other songs in that folder that didn't have any cover art. It's like, that's still an issue, because I was dealing with that in Windows Media Player in however long ago that was.
Everything's nice and unified now, man. Come on.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically now the entire Black Album from Metallica has the Groove Armada
Same art.
album cover.
Conformity,
Aw.
man. There's something good to be said about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the features I really liked was the gapless playback between songs, and part of that is because I listen to electronic music, like droning synth music, and then that's nice because you don't have a gap between the tracks, which is really nice. And I love that the album art and gallery displays are much larger. They're actually a lot larger than some of the other music apps out there.
That's cool. Go check it out. I
Yeah.
still think both of you are a bunch of weirdos for having like local music. Like, stream it.
Ah.
I'm technically streaming it from a computer that's
From your
right
cloud.
underneath the other one, but
Yeah.
it's there.
It's connected by it. Ethernet. I mean, yeah. No, that's cool, man. That's cool. There's something to be said about having local media. So, if there's one thing I don't put any faith in, it's online lists. Listicles,
Yes.
if you will. Things that are ranked.
Okay, so this is really cool because it's FOSS, an online Linux news website. Asked the community on Twitter and the social networkings about what was their favorite Linux podcasts. And ours got included in that list of 15, which was really nice, as well as Destination Linux and Jupiter Broadcasting shows, and Linux for the Rest of Us. And
That was
the Linux
nice.
Link
That
Check
was
Show.
nice to see. It's like, oh, you're still
Yes.
around. Very good.
Yes.
Door geek.
Yes. Yeah, door-to-door geek, and he's one of our patrons as well.
Yep.
So yeah, there's we got Linux for Everyone on there, Linux Headlines from Jupiter Broadcasting, Command Line Heroes, Choose Linux, which isn't around anymore, but I do love that show, and of course the Linux Action Show, which isn't with us anymore. But there's just it's all they're all my favorite podcasts, and it's just a really that was an honor to be part of this. It was really an honor that we got in there.
My bad.
Linux
Look at those
Gamecast.
three.
Pedro, what are your thoughts on
Yeah, so I've read the article. It's like, I asked this question on social media based on the feedback. It's like, I'm surprised there were enough people that admitted to listening to this nonsense that we made it as high up that list as we did.
Yeah, I don't know. You're slightly less allergic to attention than I am. I'm like, all right, fine.
I don't mind attention up to a certain point.
To a point, you don't actively avoid it. I'm Neo Dodge Bullet. I'm like,
I don't actively avoid it because most of the time I'm not paying attention.
oh, but I do want to say hello, new people. Hi. I don't know if you're listening, but I do know that you've been downloading for the past couple of days. Love you, Cloudflare. Thank you.
Yay.
That took a little bit of a jump, but it's a bunch of curiosity downloads. I don't expect that tsunami wave of like, give me money to continue, hopefully. But speaking of tsunami waves of money, if you would like to help us with that and our crazy business model of like just putting stuff out there, and if you like it, amen, maybe become a patron, support some of the crazy stuff we do. We have LibrePay, we have merch, buy shirts, No fanny packs, just hit PayPal. We got wish list, Bitcoin, that magic internet money. I hear that stuff's completely worthless. Send it all to us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Right.
It took a swan dive a long time ago.
Bitcoin Cash.
So,
that's
yeah,
where you gotta save that. Send us those useless Bitcoins. Oh man, when I think about how many Bitcoins I've just burned. I don't do that because that drives over.
Yeah, I never really got into the Bitcoin thing, so I'm not terribly worried about that. And like that guy that had 20,000 or something in a hard drive in a computer that he tossed.
Yeah. With 100,000 or whatever it was for
Wow.
pizza. But I do want to give a nice big shout out to Captain Zero.
Yay.
As you can see, the increase the pledge to $250, making them a sea monster on our Patreon. Speaking of which, if you wonder where we're hanging out the other 6 days of the week, that's in our Discord. You get to hop in there, but at that level, you get access to our show notes. Also, you get access to the pre super shows, and we call it the creep shows. And on Saturday, an hour before we go live to the masses, we have our little production meeting. We invite everyone to come say, "Hey, I want to listen to that." Make funny jokes too, and we talk about weird stuff. Usually movie reviews and
Yes.
stuff just not what we normally would cover when we're live. But
if you think the show's already a bit playing fast and loose with the whole format, let's call it that. Yeah.
there's no format.
Yeah.
There's no. Making that public, it's also available as a podcast later for patrons because you get your custom RSS feed, you get access to early. We get a gang of stuff. We just keep giving stuff away, and we're like, hopefully you like it, help us out. But if you don't, everything is free, so that's also a thing. I was going somewhere, but I've lost my track. I think we're just going to have to get right in to a slice, a pie.
Hi.
I don't know if sleeveless shirts. Where
A
we
tank
at with
top. Yes.
that? Do you do sleeveless shirts?
Well, we could have a tank top LWW shirt. I've got my regular LWW shirt on.
Yeah, over here,
LWW.
people call those the wife beaters, so no.
UASP Raspberry Pi 4 Disk IO is 50% faster. Why is that, Pedro?
Well, apparently this person I started reading is like, oh, apparently, I plugged in a hard drive to USB 3 to my Raspberry Pi 4 and discovered that it was about 5 times faster than the micro SD card. It's like, yeah, seriously?
Yeah.
Is this actually the thing? But no, he actually decided to take the next logical step instead of, just getting one of these little USB adapters that you plug a hard drive in, plug the other side into USB, and away you go. No. He went the extra mile and pulled the PCB out of one of the external hard drive enclosures that you can add your own hard drive to, and just made it work. And clearly, the power consumption is a little bit higher. Not a whole lot, because compared to like the UASP and the USB storage, it's, what's that? Like 50 watts ish difference, give or take?
Yeah.
I can't count that high.
Like 0.50 of a watt is like,
I don't know. I mean, like the random rates, looking at like 35% faster, writes 20% faster. This is definitely something you might want to look into if you're one of those psychopaths that want to make a Pi NAS.
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
You need something like either USB 3 or one of those like interposers for the PCIe lanes in the Raspberry Pi. You put in one of those with like one PCIe lane, you can drive 2 SATA ports easily. So yeah.
Would you call that like a bifurcated Pi NAS?
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, as it turns out, hard drives are faster than SD cards.
What?
Yeah. And you know
Who'd have
this actually makes sense because the SCSI standard, which I have hundreds of SCSI hard drives in this room, but the SCSI standard uses constant bit rate instead of burst via controller card. So they've obviously enhanced this driver to utilize that technology more, which is really good.
Well,
And it
moving
makes
the
copying
SATA
large
controller to the Pi
files.
instead of the enclosure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't do any Pi surgery.
I mean, that's what the Pi has those GPIO pins exposed for. It's exactly for people looking to tinker with it. So, yeah, if you can make a hat, like some people already have, that have SATA ports or enough USB connections for you to run a proper USB 3 bus off of it that you can plug a bunch of external hard drives into. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what was it? Like 2 weeks ago, we were covering those like straight up soldered to PCIe.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
And,
That's not necessarily my. Go ahead. What is this?
this is a micro SD card. It's actually
swallow
one of the dual
Tiny
pin
one.
layer ones
I am
that has
genuinely shocked
64
Nori let
gigs.
you have something that small.
I don't put it in my mouth anymore.
Yeah.
But
Ben loses things easily, so that's why.
but the thing is, like, this one is reasonably fast. It's got like 120 megabytes sequential writes, which is amazing for an SD card.
How many onces
yeah.
can it do that?
Yeah, the ones. It's like the moment it has like any kind of storage on it that you're storing any kind of, like, say, the Raspberry Pi OS. That tanks. But the hard drive will sustain up to 200 and something megabytes per second on a write all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
SCSI.
Oh man, SCSI. That's definitely a interesting piece of history. But you know, everything's going over a SCSI bus in its own special way.
I mean, the Linux kernel SATA implementation was based on the SCSI implementation.
SCSI, yeah.
That turned out to be a problem not too long ago.
Well, I mean, if you want to get off lawns, man, the first ATA disk burners you had to like set up generic SCSI host emulation support in the kernel in order to get it in there. We're talking like 1996 too, kids. If you want to share your stories about having to do weird stuff with Linux, email Jill. She'll talk to you about it for hours. But if you have some real questions, thoughts, hints, allegations, things maybe better left unsaid, how can they get us, Pedro?
You can get us in a multitude of ways. You can basically lasso us like you would
spaghetti. Have you ever tried to lasso spaghetti?
But yeah, no, spaghetti would be a good idea. The best way to do it is to go to linuxgamecast.com. You hit the contact button and you fill out the form. Make sure you pick LWDW as the show that you're sending your feedback to. Otherwise, you may inadvertently end up sending some hate mail. Yes.
No hate mail here. It's
week,
love mail.
Yes. This week we did have a bit of love mail from Linus.
We did?
Not that one. Another guy named Linus.
Oh,
from
not
Finland
that one.
Here.
Or that other one.
Yes.
What about the... No, not that one either.
Nope.
I love his wacky tech tips. What do you have to say?
Aww. Yeah.
But yeah, no, this one is a Finnish Linus. And he says, I have picked that Van seems to be more cool on showing his overly manly face on recent times, on recent episodes. No harm or offense meant. Too late. Thanks, you...
I read that.
Ping
I genuinely...
beans?
Okay, I read that as ping beavers. I didn't know what
Yeah, I didn't know what that meant.
Beings. Okay.
Pingy.
And keep on sliding. It's all good for Linux. Pedro is a very beautiful man too. It's like, how dare you? I've been doing my damnedest to cover my face on this with this pretense of a beard. How dare you?
Aww.
But you're so young, Pedro, and full of... Well, you're so young.
I'm 33.
Oh,
for
you're so
another 2
young.
weeks.
You're so young.
You could like legitimately like be Jill's son.
Oh. Yes.
Yeah.
You don't even have to get like crazy with the math on that.
No.
Jordan could be a grandkid.
Yeah.
That'd be stretching.
Yeah, Jill is about the same age as my mom, so.
Oh gosh. Oh my god. It gives you perspective.
On that timely bombshell, we gotta bounce out of here. We're gonna roll some credits. Thanks for showing up, and we'll see you next week. Huh?
Yes.
All right.
We love you, everyone.
Unless we all run away in the meantime.
Yeah. Steve Husband says bad perspective on Pedro being our son.
I'm not going to apologize.
Oh, you'd be a good son.
Just talk to his mom.
Oh. Oh. Thank you to all our beautiful producers and executive producers.
Scott broke out the Steve Walker.
Yes.
I made that just for Steve so he could participate with us.
Yeah, Brother Jack, Jelly Bean in chat. Yeah, Pedro would be your grandson because my brother's older than I am. And so is Steve Husband. He's even older.
Good night.
Good night. Mm-hmm.
Hello, son. Again, I've been doing my best during this whole lockdown period to let my face get as covered as it will.
I'm growing a mustache,
This is it.
man.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
That's all I can do.
I noticed that it's getting much thicker. Mm-hmm. You're doing the Steve goatee.
Have a good one, Nemo.
No, Jill. It's going to be a long time before I go gray.
Yeah.
I have 2 gray hairs.
I have none. It's rubbish.
I have 2. I was came out of the shower, drying my hair, and it's like, ding. Oh, you're still attached. All right. Okay.
See, I thought I was going to get some life hack, especially with the level of high stress job I had in my 20s. And I was like, yeah, I'll get some gray hair. Like some salt and pepper, something like that. Nothing. Not a drop. All through my 30s now. I finally rang up my mom. I'm like, I'll get gray hair. And she's like, yeah, mid-60s maybe.
Oh man, I started mine
My
in
dad
my
has
30s.
anything to go by. Yeah, if my dad has anything to go by, I won't get like the full salt and pepper look until I'm in my late 40s. So.
Oh, I just laughed. And, like what? I was like, statistically, I'm not going to live to my 60s. Right? I know it's kind of a morbid conversation to have with your mom, and I'm like, come on, look at. Oh, I got to get a new track gerbil.
Oh.
I'm getting double click.
Getting sticky.
I really like the Elecum. Is it? I always say, yeah, I think it's Elecum. Has no English on the box whatsoever. None. Because they're imported from Japan. They're huge in Japan. They fit my hands quite nicely. But yeah, there's no way I would try to. This is a lie. Once I get a second one, I will most certainly attempt to repair this one. And learn how to, but yeah, I'm not taking it apart as is. This gonna be
First thing I did with this one. After I tested the left click, it's like, that's a bit faded. You know when you have an old car and you hit the brakes and they start to fade? That was the click on this thing.
On a good day, like right after you put fresh pads and you bled the system, and you're like, it's a suggestion pedal.
Yeah.
That's called a 1979 Dodge Magnum XE. Ask me how I know, because there's one in the garage.
So yeah, the first thing I did was pry it open. That's why the sticker is a bit gone.
That's my 500 MX series, the one with the clicky spinny wheels.
Yeah, this one has that too.
Because you pull those apart, then you realize that, well, you know what? I just want to be able to get to these screws. So I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to put one on this side and this side so I can get to it. Desoldering micro switches, not that bad. Rebuilding them, like popping them open, taking out the little piece, cleaning it, and forming it back, and doing that clockwork stuff. If you have an afternoon to kill, go for it.
Yeah, no, I just bought the replacement switches. They were like £1 on eBay for 2. So I bought them, took it out, took out the old micro switch, put in the new one.
You didn't have to solder it?
No, it has like little connectors. It's just pries off the thing, remove the micro switch, put the new one in, slide in the connector.
All right,
done.
Right I'm down with that.
Nice. I've only done that once because I'm so gentle on my mice that they last forever.
No, now it
without
clicks.
issues.
It doesn't have that mushy.
Nice.
It's like,
oh, I hate when they get mushy.
yeah.
Yeah, I click a lot.
Yeah, you're harder on your. I'm very gentle.
Oh, it has nothing to do with like force. It's the amount.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you actually use your mouse or trackball for a long time, whereas I change them regularly because I like all the RGB goodness. This is my pink RGB one that Arthurian gave me.
This one's strictly what I'm in here using it. I'm making stuff.
There it is.
Yeah. No, I have a Logitech I use for video editing. Yeah, I use a different one for gaming and a different one for doing art.
G903.
Yeah, it's nice. That I was just pointing it at the camera again because Katana said that the laser messes with the camera, so I was trying to get it to do it again. And you can sort of see
yeah.
right
I
there.
did see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is a red one.
Yeah, no, this is laser. It's like with the naked eye, you can't even see it, but the camera is picking it up.
Oh, okay. It's the camera's, but it's a red. Mine's red, but because I have so much light, you don't see the red. But it's all
Can't get it to do it anymore.
Yeah,
red
well, whatever. Whatever. I got a ball.
Yeah. Hey, I still like my mice with balls in them. I still have a couple that I like to use on my older computers.
Kinda. I mean, like the laser on a trackball. These aren't terribly precise because there's so much. They don't have to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of dim. That looks more like an LED. Like a suggestion. Like, yeah, well, I mean, something bounces off and it's picked up somewhere. Also, cut these things off before you decide to take them downstairs to clean them out because range, it's improved over the years. You get some weird things on the desktop when you come back. You're like, well, we lucked out there. You gotta keep the ball clean. Fortunately, this one's got a little hole in the bottom, so all of that disgusting like skin is just nicely piled. So you go, oh, okay. You realize how much your fingers shed.
Yeah, I remember having to clean out the mouse on the computer because I was the one who used it the most around the house.
No.
And my dad's like, well, the mouse isn't working properly, so here's what you do. You flip the underside of the mouse, like, clean this, and then with these little tweezers, you're going to pick the crud off of the rollers.
Well, come on, man.
Right.
Kids will never have that satisfaction of that little flathead screwdrivers. You're slowly, bit by bit, scraping that center line off one of the rollers. Like, come on.
Oh God, I remember having to clean like 40 ball mice back in the day in our animation class. That was before we had a crew that would come in and do that, and the teacher used to do it. It was horrible.
All of the gunk.
All the gunk. That was the worst. You know, I can use mine. I mean, I literally still have ball mice, you know, that are, you know, from the 80s that look pristine clean, you know, like they've never been used, even though they've been used a lot.
Yeah, no. Mice with me, it's like, especially since I started playing Diablo 2 back in the day, I destroyed so many cheap mice.
It's been a minute since we've heard about that
So
Diablo mouse. That used to be like a bi-monthly thing. Pedro would be like, psst, psst. Why am I like, I got a Diablo mouse.
Yeah.
It broke. It actually broke, but it lived for a while. My one complaint that I had with that mouse, besides the lack of Linux support for the other functionality on the buttons, was the scroll wheel. The scroll wheel was crap. In fact, if you go look at SteelSeries Sensei, like type into Google SteelSeries Sensei mouse scroll wheel. Yeah.
What I've done with this, I made a video on it, how to use X-bind keys. So if I hold down, this is right click, but there's a function button here on the third. So when I hold that down, it turns the mouse ball itself into a 3D scroll. So as long as that's held down, I can scroll up, down, left, and right, which is handy when I'm in GAMP or in DaVinci or just going through web pages, because I'm and spin it right down. Because I was spoiled by clicky scroll wheel. Thank you, Logitech. And Logitech's like, we're not putting that on any of our trackballs. None. Deal with it. That's why I have this. Now, in a perfect world, I'd get one of these.
Oh, the space mouse.
$300.
Yeah. I've seen those, yes.
Yeah, that will.
Yeah, this one cost me £50.
Yeah, this is like 53 used from Amazon Warehouse. Yeah, $300. No, but I can look at it. Dang it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wicked. Even the old ones are wicked nice. The like old ones have like LCD configuration and stuff on them. But the problem with like even getting something like that, if it ever broke, you would have to get another one. You couldn't go back.
Yeah, one of those space mouses had a jog wheel you could use for editing.
Oh,
that's
got a jog wheel right in the middle of it.
Oh, it does. Okay, it's the same one. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know the one you're talking about. They make a puck.
Yeah.
You're thinking about like this guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's where you can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a knob.
Yeah.
This
they
is
used
like
to cost. Oh my gosh.
Oh, they still are.
They're
$300.
They're still like $300. Hey, the one I had was almost $1,000. So at the time.
So yeah, that.
Oh, little screen. Yeah.
Dude,
$400.
Yeah, it's a bit much.
Just a bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had $1,000 one in the early 90s.
You can get the original model ones like that now, if you can find some, because I think there were some USB 1 versions of those. You can still find them on eBay for like $50 to $70 if you want to relive those times, Jill.
Oh yeah, no, I know I have seen them. Actually, I have one of them on my watch list. I'm like, oh gosh, it'd be nice not to
getting
have
it working under Linux, but
yeah. I get the right serial card.
400. Well, I might spend £400 later this year.
On what?
If the new video cards come out and they're significantly good enough that I can spend $400 and get something better than the 1080, because I don't think they will.
No. Like, I legitimately could make a business case for getting like a 2060 Super just to have that extra 4 gigs of video memory RAM. But I can't pull the trigger on that because you know what? I can make it work right now.
Yeah.
That's like, can I still accomplish the task? And it's like, yeah, but that would accomplish it a lot. But can I get it done though? Yeah. All right. Have fun.
Yeah, which is why I'm just waiting till September to buy any like major bits of hardware for that box. It's the motherboard. I hope the price will come down on the X570s or the X550s even. And if the new GPUs, maybe Big Navi will kick NVIDIA in the butt. It probably won't, as usual, but maybe. And if the new NVIDIA cards are really, really good, and they release something for around 400 that's better than the 1080. Okay.
I think currently, right now, the only thing I'm trying to psych myself up while I'm beginning to is like, you're about to buy a $400 motherboard again.
I don't want to spend 170.
Poor Vince.
And you don't even
Oh, God.
you don't even get like the yay, I got new stuff to play with. You're like, no,
No,
it's
it's
just another motherboard.
Oh.
But
And you
have
gotta
a
take it all apart, put it together again,
Yeah.
and
But I got a spare
Yeah.
Threadripper motherboard. Yeah, you want to go buy another spare Threadripper CPU? No. And the power supply to
That's
go
the
with
thing. If it's still working, you can probably get another $200 or $300 out of that one on eBay.
it. Yeah, you see the problem with that. Then if I have that, then I get backup. Because we live very dangerously in this studio. I do not have a backup power supply for that Threadripper. I do not have a backup motherboard or a CPU.
oh,
I have
computer
backup
clit
power
kid.
supplies for that box. Just
I got power supplies days long, man. I don't have 1,000 watts and dual EPS connectors.
yeah. Thank you for joining us, Computer Kid. It's awesome. I've been talking to him a lot on Linux Unplugged.
Right on.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I had to get in an argument. Why do people argue on the internet, Pedro? You know more about this
because
than
it's
I do.
fun. I do it because it's fun to like one of two things will happen. Nothing will change, or you'll learn something. What that something is, that's up in the air, but you either everything stays the same because you're fighting on the internet, let's be honest, most likely everything will stay the same, but you might actually learn something. Either it's a new insult or a really contrived way to try and justify something. There's a lot of that.
Well, like this morning, I get up, 4:15, 4:20. I'm like, derp. And it was like an R Black Magic design on Reddit, and I'm in like the OBS channel. I try to help where I can. Somebody asked a question. I was like, I can't get DaVinci to Resolve to use more than 12 gigs of RAM, and I've slid the slider all the way over to the right. I'm like, and they said, hey man, my timeline's stuttering when I'm trying to edit 2160p. I wrote back, I'm like, I'll tell you what you're doing. It has nothing to do with RAM. It's like my CPU is getting hammered constantly. It'd be more sense, and it's always right in the SSD. I'm like, yo, generate optimized media, because what you're doing, I'll tell you what you're doing. I didn't phrase it like this, but this is going through my head as I was converting it to nice speak. Is you're editing HEVC or X264 2160p in a timeline, even with GPU acceleration, because DaVinci's old GPU, it's going to stutter unless you generate optimized media. You're going to have to roll that out to DNX HR. Like, here, just click here, and that'll stop your stuttering. It's like, yeah, stuttering's fixed, but the RAM, I still can't. I was like, why? You said you thought the RAM was causing the stuttering, and it wasn't. But I packed my bags. It's like, all right.
He was just looking for confirmation bias so he could buy new RAM. You didn't give that to him.
I was stupid. I just showed up. I'm like, here's how you fix your problem. Arthur must have suggested some stuff. He's like, hey guys, go vote.
Were there suggestions? Yes, there was the one suggestion.
What was it? I missed that.
Let's find out together.
Okay. Oh,
Eye surgery.
there we go.
I don't know. I was kind of partial to bifurcation.
Bifurcate my PCI.
Bifurcated pie. Right on. What's for dinner tonight? Eh?
Either steak or stir fry strips.
you ever consider doing like stir-fried steak? Like mixing that in? Or are you like, steak's too good for stir-fry?
What is your obsession with ruining steak? Microwave, stir fry, oven.
You cook a steak in the oven if you don't want to sous vide it.
You can cook a steak in the oven all day to make it really tender and then barbecue it.
Don't let Jill in the kitchen.
I do know a little bit about cooking.
Don't cook a steak all day either. Do a little research before you follow that.
I mean, if you want slightly meat-flavored chewing gum, yeah, you can totally cook it all day in the oven.
Carbon. Maybe if you want a dehydrated steak that you need to like soak.
I wasn't. Yeah, not steak. The boneless cuts. The what do you call it? The other meal you make.
This is your own path. You take it, Jill.
Okay.
Go on.
Chops.
You already grabbed the shovel, so.
Yeah.
Pork chops. My grandmother used to put them in the oven.
Okay, that's that's
yeah.
pork.
I'm talking
Okay.
pork chops.
Sure.
Yeah, pork.
Drop it in the oven. Turkey,
Yeah.
duck, chicken.
Anything
That's
you
fine.
put in the oven,
Prime rib is good too
you're
for
going
you,
to be
Jack.
dealing with. You're going to have to like. That's why you have to baste turkey because it'll turn into a dehydrated brick like any other meat in the oven. So.
Yeah, you pull it out like every 10 minutes or so.
Doesn't
Take
that
the
sound like cooking
scoop.
meat with a bunch of extra steps thrown in it? You deep fry it
Or
like a
you
normal
just get a
person.
pan.
Ooh, I wonder.
You get a pan.
I wonder. Well, listen, man, you're the peasant that eats chewy steak.
That's exactly what I'm trying to avoid.
I wonder. Could you just like flash fry a steak, like they do turkey?
Yeah, I'm
If it's
sure.
thin enough, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure it can be done. This is not what I'm asking.
My brother may have done that
I wouldn't be
before.
opposed to trying it. I probably wouldn't do it myself, but if someone did, it's like, oh, it's flash fried, deep fried steaks. Like, I try it.
Take it, pop it in the microwave. You're like, it needs about 3 more minutes. Just to finish it off. Oh, now I want to do a cooking show and just go through the process.
Humanities.
Oh, dude, Soviet, sear it carefully on the desk grill and then pop it in the microwave to finish it off. Just watch everyone just.
Oh,
Then break out.
manatee.
Oh, dude, then break out the ketchup at the end.
Manatees would probably be tough. Oh,
Throwing
I've had-
sauce.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say
Jill's
I have
fantasizing about eating sea cows.
No. I've had just about every sea creature you can eat. So- But I
Gotta
think
learn
it's
to
probably
close
a
your
lot
mouth
like
when
shark.
swimming, dude.
Yeah,
Shark
I
isn't
used to.
terrible. That's what I
Yeah.
hear from people who like fish. I hate fish, so.
Yeah, we used to. I lived down in Mexico. We had a surf house down there up above the reef, and we used to, when in high tide, you could fish for shark, and we've gotten a lot of amazing things, and but some sharks, like white shark, the bigger the shark, the tenderer it is. that was always the kind of
A
the
lot
rule.
more, yeah, a lot more fat.
Yeah, a lot more fat.
Also, a
yeah.
higher concentration of mercury.
Yes, that's true.
This is also why you don't eat dolphin, kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, like tuna. Get the heavily processed canned stuff.
And don't lay into that on a daily basis. That's
No.
I mean, unless you like that wild and wacky mercury flavor. Oof.
It's like, I'm sorry, you don't have iron in your blood, you have quicksilver.
So, Jill, what are you and Steve having for takeout this evening?
I don't know. We hadn't talked about it yet. I'm got to eat something for lunch though. I got to figure that out. I'll probably just have a salad and then go for a walk.
Right on. All right. I got to go make a show.
Yes.
So, goodbye, censored Linus.
Bleep you. Bleep you so much.
I thought about wiring up the bleep button, which would be a laughably easy thing to set up.
Unnecessary censorship.
Oh, no. We can just start unloading live.
Aw. Thank you, Art Theron. Hug back to you. And bye, Barbara.
Bye.
So good to see
Paige,
you. And
you do
Computer
raise a
Kid.
valid point, because then that would quickly devolve into unnecessary censorship.
Yes.
After the novelty wore off.
Oh, boy.
Beautiful people. Thanks for showing up and watching us live. I'll be back tomorrow with Jordan. Our Young in Blood. Action Murder Detective series, episode 3. We're going to try to solve the case of wherever we left off last.
Oh, bye, Daisy. Bye, Katana.
All right, everyone. I'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Love you guys. We'll see you next week. Or actually, in a couple days.